The Alldus podcast is brought to you by Alldus International, supplying your expert AI and digital transformation staffing needs across the US and Europe. Today, you are listening to our AI in Action series, where leading minds in AI from across the world share their story, success, and advice. AI in Action cuts through the hype and explores the true impact of artificial intelligence in our world today.
You're listening to AI in Action. I'm your host, JP Valentine. Our guest today is René Morkos. René is the founder and CEO at Alldus Technologies. René, welcome to the show.
Great to be here, John.
So René, let's start with yourself, please, as we always do. Could you give us a bit of an overview of your journey in technology, from where you got started, some of the roles you've held along the way, and take us up to the formation and launch of Alldus Technologies?
That's a great question. I guess I'm not your typical founder of an AI company. I'm a construction guy. So I'm an engineer. I grew up in construction. I built stuff around the world, underwater pipelines, oil and gas refineries, cruise ship terminal in Amsterdam. Spent a year in Afghanistan as a civilian, building projects down there. And so I liked computer science. I took a few classes in C++ and class or two in Java back in college. And I was relatively good at it. I like the way computers think. It seemed to be logical. And then started a PhD. And I did what's colloquially called an industrial PhD. And what that means is I did 6 months of study, 6 months of research, and then 6 months of work. And I funded the program that way. And I still completed in 6 years, which is the average for completing a PhD. As I was doing the research, I started to think back to the problems that I had seen on site. And there's so many of them. Construction is the second least digitized industry in the world. Construction, we haven't seen increases in productivity for our field in several decades. But something big happened in 2017. And in 2017, there's this, what I call a construction renaissance that came upon us. And the venture capitalists and technologists around the world almost decided that construction was going to be the next big thing to get digitized. And I wanted to be part of that revolution. And we invented the world's first generative construction simulator. And that's how my journey led to me doing what we're doing.
René, thank you for the background. It really does set the stage. Your own education and expertise sets the stage for what you're doing with Alldus. You've touched on it briefly, but I'm excited to go into more detail about what you've actually built with Alldus. I'm fortunate enough to see the demos and see just how transformative this technology is. But can you talk to us about the mission for Alldus overall? Explain the various stages of this technology and why Alldus is so revolutionary to your industry.
Yeah, Alldus is a generative construction simulator. So the way I explain generative construction is through an example of parametric design. So let's assume that you were to draw a cup or a cylinder. You'd sort of draw two circles and a plane between them. Then someone says, I want a bigger cup, you redraw it. You got to redraw the cup every time. If your tool's parametric, you might have guessed your tool has the height and diameter parameter. You can change those numbers and the software automatically redraws the cup. It redraws the shape. Now, they sort of really started to tinker with this concept back in the 80s when they were designing engines. And so, the big deal back then was, pipe 24 had to get changed from 1 inch to half an inch. And so what that meant was you had to change all the cross sections, all the elevations, all the drawings had to change as a consequence of this one variable that was different. And so with parametric design, you can simply change the height of the columns or pipe diameter, or whatever it is, and that change ripples through the system. And it revolutionized design. Today, the market caps of Autodesk, Bentley, Hexagon, and many other companies are really based off of this technology. It's never been done in construction, and that's what Alldus is. Alldus is the first tool ever where you can parametrically simulate the construction of a construction project. You can add a crane, try overtime, try resequencing. You can try different types of concrete. Like the sky's the limit. You can build your project 6 million different ways before you go build it. If there's a delay, guess what? You can build it 6 million, or you can try 6 million different mitigation strategies, right? And find the one that works the best. If you're looking for the cheapest or the fastest and so on. And, you can generally save about 17% in duration and about 13% in cost. So that's sort of roughly what the impact of this technology is.
I've been fortunate enough to talk to you quite a bit, and you've educated me on what the construction industry has been like, some of the main problems, which really adds color to just how transformative Alice Technologies is going to be. Can you walk us through the main impact this can have in the here and now and what it can mean for the future of your industry? And then we'll jump into the underlying technology behind the scenes because there's a lot of cool AI and data science at play here. But just start by setting the stage, just how big a problem exists in traditional construction and just what impact Alice can have.
If you sort of read, the McKinsey construction report that came out 3 years ago, it's free. And McKinsey did this whole study on construction. And I think one of the reasons they did it is construction, like I said, is considered to be one of the next great fields to digitize. And it's not next, it's happening, it's digitizing now. And what McKinsey came up with or had figured out was that, get this, 98% of construction projects are on average 80% over budget and 20% over schedule. So think about how crazy that is. What that's telling you is that on average, as an industry, right, our large jobs are 80% over budget and 20% behind schedule.
That's insane.
It is completely insane. And that's our average performance as an industry. So imagine that you go down to a car shop or the local, whatever, Mazda or Toyota or any sort of car dealer. And you say, I'd like to buy a Mazda. And they say, great. And they ask you which one you want. And we don't have it in stock. And you say, okay, I want the red one with the tan interior and the automated windows or whatever it is. And they say, great. And it's going to cost you, call it $40,000. And you say, okay, great, $40,000. And you come back and they say, come back in a month. And they call you a month later and they go, no, actually, it's going to be 3 more weeks. And then you show up and then they give you the car and then they give you a bill that's for, call it 76,000, right? 72,000 in this case. That's what our industry is like. And that's the average performance. And so we have figured out how to apply really operations research techniques that have been standard in every other field. Finally, we'll be able to apply them to construction. And so we figured out a theoretical translation between complex construction constraints and generalized scheduling constraints that mean that you can really start optimizing or applying, I should say, AI and ML and other sort of techniques to our field. The opportunity is like insane. I mean, how many times in the history of a species can you say that we've got 50 people that have figured out how to optimize 10% of world GDP? It's nuts.
Yeah, it's incredible. And this is something where it's a multi-billion, if not trillion-dollar market cap. And all of the organizations have been trying to figure out how to solve it. And you have. So I want to now jump into the cool AI at play because you mentioned it there. Speaking to an audience of data professionals, describe what you build, how you built it, and then talk to us about the build ahead because you're only just getting started and there's going to be a lot of growth and people required to build this at scale once the word gets out and the demand comes at you like a tsunami.
The construction of it, no pun intended, maybe pun intended, the construction of the software was done in typical Silicon Valley fashion, right? Where we started small, we iterated rapidly. There was days where this thing would catch fire 6 times from Sunday, right? We would try something, it wouldn't work, try something else, it wouldn't work, try something else, it wouldn't work. And then, it works, but it failed under these conditions. And we would take what we had, go to our customers, show it to them, and they'd say, oh, it sucks. And we'd say, great, that's exactly what we want to hear. Why? And they'd say, because of this reason. And we'd go to the drawing board, we'd fix those 4 things. And then we come back and we'd have the next version. And they say, oh, it doesn't work. Why not? Because of these 3 things. We'd go to the drawing board and fix them. And we were doing this for, I think, about 3.5 years. So at one point, we went to the customer and we ran it. And the customer said, oh, this worked. And it was a long journey to get here, right? Slowly, I think what we've experienced as a company, which I think is really rare, is we've gone from conceptual research, which is like, what are the pieces of the puzzle, right? How do we think about the problem? To theoretical research. So now we've figured out the pieces of the puzzle, but how do those pieces interact? to building prototypes. And then from building prototypes, building a commercial product. And after building commercial product to build to commercialization. And anybody that joins a company today, I think the sweetest points to join a company is between 30 and 70 people. And we're currently at 50. And the reason is that you can see all the, like, we're big enough where we have a marketing department, we have a customer success department, we have a sales, and like all the main pieces of the puzzle are there: finance and operations and customer success and sales and marketing and all that. And it's big enough where we have the pieces and you can also keep an eye on them. You can kind of understand what's happening. The other thing is that if someone joins today, what you're really looking at is you're looking at the ability to be part of something where you're going from really, I don't know, conceptual, but definitely theoretical research to prototyping to commercialization, to commercial product and commercialization. And that's something that I think is like incredibly exciting for I'm a scientist and engineer at heart. And a lot of times these bigger companies, you get pigeonholed into being involved in only the prototyping or only this, whereas with us, like, we regularly talk to our clients when we fly around the world to talk to them. Like, we have a client in Hawaii. I mean, that's, I assure you, a very popular destination to do research in. And we highly encourage it, right? And so it's a really fun, exciting period in the company. And I think it's a fun, exciting thing that we've really uncovered in a lot of ways.
You are listening to the Alldus podcast. When you're looking to scale your team, or if you are interested in showcasing your company in a future episode, reach out today. Or if you're in the market for a new role, visit our website to view open positions, www.alldus.com.
Staying on the technology piece, I want to give the audience a bit of a look behind the scenes. Could you describe what it's like to be part of your technology and data team? What aspects of AI are you using to make this all possible? Because it sounds quite transformative, which, again, I know that it is from what you've shown me. But I want to help explain how you're utilizing aspects of AI to make this all come together.
Yeah, for sure. So what we're doing basically, is, like I said, what we figured out how to do is apply decades of OR research to the problem. And so there's sort of, I guess, two distinct areas we work in. One is we apply developed techniques and technologies to what we're working on, mixed into your programming, discrete event simulation, constraint satisfaction. That's the kind of, area that we're working in. There's another area, which is the certain aspects to the problem that we're working on that haven't been solved in operations research. And in order to do that, we have to actually go out and create our own path, chart our own path. And that's where it gets, I think, a lot less defined and either a lot more frustrating or a lot more exciting, depending on which side of that table you're on.
Probably both.
Yeah, it really is, right? Because you can spend a month where it doesn't, we're like, we don't know, we tried it this way. And then suddenly, and then once you get it to work, there's definitely a lot of grins and smiles around the table. So those are two separate approaches. Right.
I'm glad you brought up what's next, because it's something you and I have been speaking about quite a bit. Now that you've got it working, you're getting the feedback from the customers and it's demonstrated that it works, there's going to be a huge spike in demand for the technology. And with that, you're going to have to continue to build and iterate and add new features and also make sure that you're able to support the scale. That's going to have a knock-on effect on the growth of your workforce, which you've alluded to already. You're now at 50. When you look at the roadmap over the next 12 to 24 months, where do you see your workforce getting to? What sort of hiring are you going to need to make? And adding to that as a message to potential future employees, what would you tell them about the work, the mission, the environment to get them excited enough to potentially join you?
So let me say this. We're one of the very few companies out there that's currently hiring. We're almost unique in that regard. Everyone else is looking at market trends and really slowing things down. For us, we're still expanding. We're currently, I think, at 53 full-time. We'll easily get to 80 by the end of next year. We're mainly hiring right now in engineering and product. And like you said, we've got it to work. But one of the cool things about being with a company at our stage is that you get to see how the sausage is made. And so getting it to work is different than getting it to be an easy to use product. And so we have the technology. It works better than I ever thought it would. It's one heck of a piece of tech. And what we need to do next is we need to make it easier and faster. And there's lots of different ways you can do that. XUI is the obvious one, but there's other things. There's computational areas that we're working on that will make this faster. There's templatized automated graph generation and induction sort of strategies that we're working on that I think will substantially improve what we have. But even though what we have is like to call an F-16 jet compared to carriage, right? Which is what we think they're using today. But even with that F-16 jet, we think we can put in the automated sort of cockpit display and the automated sort of systems that enable you to set up more and more data crunching for the human to be able to do.
Final question from me then, Rene. You talked about the growth and the build. Speaking to an audience of engineers, why is Alldus Technology such a unique place to work? Why should they consider joining you on this amazing mission?
Oh, there's a number, I think, really exciting and I don't know if unique, but very rare things that are happening at Alldus. We are at the advent of an entire new subfield, right, which is computational construction. And we invented it and we're propagating it into the world. We are the first in the world to have developed these technologies and theories. And one of the things that I think is exciting is, like I said, we're a group of 50 people that have figured out how to optimize 10% of world GDP. And that's incredibly rare. It doesn't happen often. Another thing that I think is unique about our company is the fact that as you work on these algorithms, a lot of times they can be very abstract. Whereas with us, there's a whole visual where we work with these 3D models or architectural models of buildings. And those 3D models or architectural models of buildings mean that the work we're doing is much prettier, right? It's nicer. You're interacting with a 3D model of something you're working on. And I'd say the third point is that you're really, I think, building some very heavy duty algorithms from scratch, right? We can use stuff that's off the shelf, but we're at the stage where we're really building out some really large pieces of the optimization puzzle ourselves. And I think that that's a really strong point on anybody's resume, right? To be able to say, hey, I helped build out the entire optimization engine for a field defining or category defining company. Like that's not an opportunity that comes along every day. That's for sure. Or even in some cases every decade.
Rene, thank you so much for coming on today and talking to us. It really was great to learn about backstory and the origins of Alldus Technology. It was quite educational because you're talking to us about an industry we don't get often on this show. But what you're doing is truly remarkable. It really feels like a dramatic shift from analog to digital. And this technology will revolutionize construction. So we're excited for you. And you've also made the company sound like an amazing place to work on top of that. So we appreciate your time. Best of luck on the journey. And we look forward to having you back on the show in the near future.
Yeah, thanks so much, John. It's like I always say that there's three ways to succeed, right? You do what everyone else is doing, do it better than they're doing it. You do what no one else is doing just with a high barrier to entry, or do what no one else is doing better than they could hope to do it. And I definitely think that the third one is the place to be. So yeah, thanks so much. It was always lovely to chat to you and have a great day.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Alldus podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any Android podcast of choice. You can also head over to our website, www.alldus.com, to listen to more podcasts, view our open roles, and stay up to date with industry news. Thanks for listening and stay tuned for more great episodes coming very soon.